Hello, I'm Emily Cottrell, and today I'll be talking to you about the paper Revealing the Reality of Undergraduate GP Teaching in UK Medical Curricula, a cross-sectional questionnaire study. We all know that general practice is facing unprecedented pressure. The combination of the worst recruitment and retention crisis in decades, with an ever-increasingly complex, intense workload, not to mention the pressures the COVID-19 pandemic has brought. Government efforts to help this by expanding the GP workforce are falling short. The promised 5,000 extra doctors in GP by 2020 is in reality 1,500 doctors fewer, and the HEE mandate of half of medical graduates entering GP training is in reality far lower. General practice teaching in medical schools is crucial for a number of reasons. Experiences in medical school shape career decisions, particularly exposure to specialties and role models, and we know that authentic GP teaching positively influences students to a future career in general practice. GP also offers all future doctors expert medical generalist skills which are vital to their future work as doctors. Despite this, previous studies showed the amount of GP teaching in medical curricula was inadequate. We therefore aim to get a current picture of what is happening with GP teaching in UK medical schools by performing a national survey. We aim to quantify the exposure of undergraduate medical students in the UK to GP and compare this to historical data, as well as describe the financial and human resources allocated to support GP teaching. We did this by a cross-sectional questionnaire study. The design was based upon a previous questionnaire study in order to enable comparison historically. This was piloted internally, and then we used this to help refine the questions prior to distribution. We sent the questionnaire to all UK medical schools who had students for the academic year 2017 to 2018, and then when responses had been received, we analysed them using basic and detailed statistical analyses. The headline results are as follows. 36 out of 36 UK medical schools responded, giving us a 100% response rate. On average, 9.2% of UK medical school curricula are taught in or by GPs, and the average payment rate for clinical GP teaching is £55.60 per student per session. There was considerable variation in all aspects of GP teaching, including the proportion of curriculum assigned to GP teaching, funding and human resources allocated to GP teaching. We found that there was no significant difference between schools that were located in different parts of the UK in terms of the proportion of the curriculum assigned to GP teaching or the funding allocated to it. However, the proportion of GP teaching and funding allocated to GP teaching was significantly lower in old medical schools compared to their newer counterparts. When looking at historical trends, the proportion of GP teaching in curricula is falling or static. Comparisons to historical data are challenging due to different methods used to measure GP teaching. This could either be the proportion of the curriculum that GP teaching takes up, or the number of sessions of GP teaching. The majority of medical schools report plans to increase the amount of GP in the curriculum. This is the most up-to-date and comprehensive description of undergraduate GP teaching in the UK to date. There is a large variation in the amount of GP teaching and resources allocated to it throughout the UK. Despite this variation, it is clear that GP teaching is not increasing to recommended levels and has plateaued or even fallen. Funding is significantly lower than the actual cost of delivering GP teaching or of equivalent teaching in secondary care. Since the time of writing of this paper, the Department of Health and Social Care in England has for the first time introduced a national minimum tariff for GP teaching of £28,000 per annum. This is a step in the right direction, but it is still not equitable with hospital-based teaching, which has a tariff of over £33,000 annually, or the cost of providing teaching in GP, which is over £41,000 annually. In conclusion, the provision of GP teaching is at best the same as levels 20 years ago and at worst falling. Funding is not equitable with the funding available for secondary care teaching despite recent improvements. This is all occurring on a backdrop of an ongoing workforce crisis in general practice and a widespread push to make UK medical curricula more community focused. We recommend that urgent attention needs to be given to the funding and provision of GP teaching if medical schools are to support medical students in choosing GP as a career, and indeed training all future doctors with expert medical generalist skills. Thank you very much.